Ch.21, A Letter from England. Tricia Lee is a London theater producer and director who has become intrigued by the play and stories of young children. I sense the magic created in a classroom, she writes. Sometimes the hush in the room when a child's story is acted out equals the spine-chilling feelings in an audience during a show in a big theater. Miss Lee writes to me about her experiences as a drama teacher in a number of London schools, where she uses the children's own stories as stage plays. The other day, a child in the reception class, kindergarten, in my garden, the school you visited, told me a story, she reports. He had worked with me in the nurse's school class the previous year and knew the technique as well. This is his story. Once upon a time, there was a plane, and he was going to crash into a building and make an explosion, and all the people were hurt. And they got to die, and then the firemen came, and the firemen put out the fire. Her letter is dated December 5th, 2002, nearly 15 months after the attack on the World Trade Center. Children continue to examine the explosion seen around the world. Whereas the 9/11 symbol may initiate discussions among adults, for children it will not suffice. They are compelled to communicate their feelings in more dramatic ways. The letter continues, when we came to do the story, the children were totally engaged. I felt unsure, out of my depth, especially since the teachers didn't seem to expect the story. They had no idea the children were even aware of September 11th. Could we deal with this issue with 5-year-olds? I worried about trivializing a serious event, but decided to trust the child who told the story. He wanted to be the plane, and he showed me where he wanted the building to be. He was very clear about the stage directions, so we started acting out. The boy, as the plane, flew to the spot where the building was, and then gently curled up in a ball on the floor. I brought up 5 children to play the people. They took their roles of being hurt very seriously, and when I read they got to die, they lay down in total silence. The room was hushed. Then I called up another 5 children as firemen, who walked among the bodies of their classmates, holding hoses and putting out the fire. We all watched in stunned silence. It was the closest I've been to tears in the children's storytelling and acting. Then a child asked, "Can we do it again?" I said, "I'm curious to know why you're so keen to do that story again." She came and sat next to me and she said, "Because it's really interesting." So we did it again because the child was right where I was confused. The children knew we had tapped into something really powerful, something that school and adults don't often let us tap into, a way of exploring our fears and the things we don't understand. But it also meant something else, that school was a place where you could feel very personally involved. For all my years in the theater and my belief in its value, I feel that right now I'm able to see its truest and deepest value. How amazing that this lesson comes from the age group listened to the least. A few days later, I read Tricia Lee's letter to a group of preschool teachers. No one doubts the authenticity of the children's voices, nor is anyone surprised by the ability of 4s and 5s to enact the story in so respectful a manner. But what if they only care to do the violent parts, a teacher asks, just the explosions and shooting and knocking things down? That's what makes me uncomfortable, and I want to stop the play and even the stories. Okay, but here's another what if, I say. What if you pretend you are a theater director and the children are young actors? And what if, having stopped the explosion, you say, once upon a time, what happened? Tell us exactly what happens before and after the explosion and what role you want to play. We'll get it all written down and talked about and let the story come out. Our pretend theater director and her actors understand equally well that an explosion is merely a single event, and bang bang is not the whole story. It is not interesting enough. The what and the how of every story is deserving of our combined attention. Determined visualization and repetition, no less so in this tale than in the one about Cinderella or Peter Rabbit. I bring the letter from England when I next visit Mrs. Rupert's class and read the London boys' story along with the description of its dramatization. The moment I finish, Costos jumps up. "Can we do it?" he asks. "Can we do it just the same way as those kids? I really want to do that, okay?" "Sure we can. Do you mind telling me why you want to do the story in the same way?" Costos considers my question for a moment, then spreads his arms and flies to the center of the rug. "Because it's really, really interesting. And then next time the firemen have to rescue the people, okay?" The indomitable spirit of fantasy play lies in wait. When kept under the cloud of disapproval, as with my social linguistic or logistical skill, a period of practice may be useful, but the imagination is a dependable ally, and the children's natural desire to tell a story, act in a story, listen to a story, and expand the story comes to the rescue. Then life in the classroom really becomes interesting. In my next letter to Trish Lee, I described the children's reenactment of her September 11th story. Funny thing, she writes back, how anything put into a story comes round back. So here's another one, also from a 5-year-old, that shows how children see the world. Once upon a time there was a bird, and he was flying around his nest, and then he sees a tree, what looked shiny. And then he called his mom, and I told his mom he seed a shiny tree. And then his mom told him, there's no such thing as a shiny tree anywhere. And he said, there is. And his mom came to look, and his mom seed it, and she told him, let's pick all the shiny leaves off the tree. So they did. The image I found so strong was how the mom had not believed the bird, and then when she finally sees the tree, she had to pick all the leaves off so the shiny tree is no more. How easy it is for us to discuss the children's play and stories as irrelevant make-believe, and how children's creativity is eventually picked up by adults, belittling and correcting till the child's tree is no more. It is more than a funny thing the way anything put into a story comes around back. Once the storytelling habit grows strong, it becomes a seamless process of invention and interpretation. I can see Mrs. Ruparel Sen reading the shiny tree story to her children, who are eager to act out the roles of the little bird, the doubting mom, and the remarkable tree. Do the children wonder why the mother bird does not believe her child? And then when she comes to inspect the tree, why is she determined to alter its most unique feature? But these are my questions. The children will better recognize the secret twists and turns that help protect a child's fantasies from other versions of reality. How fortunate to be a teacher present at the creation and ready to carry on while the children revise and replay the endless possibilities suggested by a magical tree and a little bird who has the key to the kingdom.